December 17, 1928. Lahore feels like a city under siege. 5,000 police officers patrol every street, every station, every road leading out. They are hunting one man, Bhagat Singh, who just shot a British officer. The colonial machine is determined to catch him before he vanishes. Posters with his face are pasted on walls. Checkpoints rise overnight, and trains are searched compartment by compartment. Standing between the empire and its most wanted revolutionary is a 22-year-old woman holding a baby. She's about to attempt an escape so audacious it sounds like fiction. Her name is Durga Devi Vohra. She's married, with a 10-month-old son. Hidden in a Lahore safe house is Bhagat Singh, wounded, hunted, and carrying a bounty. The Revolutionary Council gathers in panic as police flood the city with photographs and shoot on-site orders. One question hangs in the air. How do you smuggle India's most wanted man past 5,000 officers who know his face? 3 days earlier, Bhagat Singh and Rajguru had waited outside Lahore police headquarters, not hiding but hunting. Their target was Assistant Superintendent J.P. Saunders, blamed for the lathi charge that led to Lala Lajpat Rai's death. At 4:10 p.m., a British officer stepped out of the building and Bhagat Singh fired 3 times. The man fell instantly. But in the chaos they realized the truth. They had shot the wrong officer, Saunders' deputy, John Saunders. For the British, the distinction did not matter. A white officer lay dead in front of police headquarters. Within an hour, Lahore became a sealed cage. Exits were blocked, trains were searched, and roads were choked with checkpoints. For 2 weeks he moved between safe houses while police conducted door-to-door searches. Every extra day increased the risk that someone would talk or make a mistake. At an emergency meeting, one revolutionary suggested something reckless. What if he did not hide at all, but traveled in plain sight? That is when they thought of Durga Devi. She had supported the movement quietly, never drawing attention. Known to neighbors only as a young middle-class mother with a child in her arms. The plan was breathtaking in its danger. She would escort Bhagat Singh out of Lahore disguised as her husband, carrying her real infant son, and travel by public train through multiple police checkpoints. When they asked her, Durga Devi's first concern was not her own safety. She asked what would happen to her son if they were caught, and the silence in the room gave her the answer. If arrested, she could be shot or imprisoned, and her child left motherless. Her husband Bhagwati Karan would lose his family. She looked at the men around her and asked only one question. When do we leave? Preparation began immediately and with ruthless precision. He was dressed in Western clothes, a neat suit and hat, with horn-rimmed glasses to soften his features. When they finished, he looked like a respectable young professional, not a hunted revolutionary. On the night before departure, Bhagwati Karan pulled his wife aside. He told her that if anything happened, he was proud that their son would know his mother was brave. Durga Devi answered with quiet steel. She said nothing would happen, because her son needed his mother more than the revolution needed another martyr. December 31, 1928. Lahore railway station is crowded with travelers and heavy with suspicion as police scan every face. Durga Devi walks onto the platform holding her baby Shachin, while beside her stands her husband, carrying luggage. To the world they are an ordinary family traveling for the new year. They approach the ticket window and request passage to Calcutta. The clerk sees a mother and father with a child and hands over the tickets. But ahead, officers stand with wanted posters in their hands. The disguise will now be tested under the gaze of the empire. A British officer stops them and demands their papers. Durga Devi hands over forged identification while Bhagat Singh stands silent, playing the role of a dutiful husband. As the officer studies the documents, the baby begins to cry. Durga Devi rocks him gently and apologizes, explaining he is teething. The officer glances from Bhagat Singh's face to the photograph in his hand. For a suspended moment, the entire escape hangs on a single heartbeat. The baby cries louder and the officer's expression softens. He returns the papers and waves them through. They board the train, but the danger is far from over. The journey to Calcutta will take more than 24 hours, with multiple stops where police may search again. At every station where officers board the train, Durga Devi turns motherhood into armor. She speaks to Bhagat Singh in the tone of a wife concerned about milk powder and meals. The performance of domestic life becomes their shield. At Mughal Sarai, a major junction, a sharp-eyed inspector begins questioning every male passenger. The compartment grows tense as he moves seat by seat with deliberate suspicion. Before he can question Bhagat Singh, Durga Devi scolds her husband for missing breakfast and upsetting the baby. The complaint sounds so mundane that the inspector smiles faintly and moves on. Bhagat Singh does not utter a word. Silence becomes his safest disguise. 26 hours after leaving Lahore, the train reaches Howrah station in Calcutta. They step onto the platform still in character, not daring to relax until the safe house door closes behind them. Only then does the weight of fear break over Durga Devi. Bhagat Singh thanks her with rare emotion, and she reminds him that he owes his life not to her but to India. From Calcutta, he could have disappeared forever. Instead, 4 months later, he chose a path that would guarantee his arrest. On April 8, 1929, Bhagat Singh and Bhatukshwar Dutt entered the Central Legislative Assembly in New Delhi, carrying low-intensity bombs designed to make noise, not kill. They threw them into an empty section and made no attempt to flee. He surrendered calmly, ensuring that his trial would become a national spectacle. He traded his freedom for a platform, fully aware of the price. The courtroom turned into a stage where he spoke about colonial exploitation and the right to resist tyranny. Hunger strikes and smuggled letters carried his voice far beyond prison walls. On March 23, 1931, Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and Sukhdev were hanged in Lahore Central Jail. The execution was carried out earlier than announced to prevent unrest, but the news spread like wildfire. Protests erupted across India as students walked out and workers struck in defiance. The empire had created martyrs whose deaths ignited greater resistance. Durga Devi did not retreat into obscurity after his execution. She continued aiding revolutionaries, smuggling messages, and sheltering fugitives despite constant danger. In 1932, her husband died in a bomb-making accident, leaving her widowed at 26 with a young son. Even then, she did not abandon the cause. She lived until 1999, witnessing independence, partition, and the birth of a free nation. When asked about the escape, she would modestly say she only did what any mother would do. Her son Shachin grew into a respected scholar who preserved her story for future generations. He would recall her telling him that he cried at exactly the right moments on that train, distracting the police when it mattered most. Behind that single train journey stood a vast underground network of safe houses, forged documents, and ordinary citizens willing to risk execution. Shopkeepers, teachers, and housewives formed a resistance the British never fully understood. On his final day, Bhagat Singh was reading a biography of Lenin and asked for a few more minutes to finish a chapter. He was 23 years old, already certain that his death would serve a purpose greater than his life. The British believed his execution would crush the movement. Instead, it inspired thousands who asked themselves what they were willing to sacrifice. Was Durga Devi's courage different from his? He chose to risk his own life, but she risked her child and her family's future. For a cause she believed transcended fear. She weaponized the empire's assumptions, using the image of a harmless mother as cover for rebellion. Colonial arrogance became the blindfold that allowed her to walk past 5,000 officers unnoticed. Today, the platforms at Lahore and Howrah still stand crowded and ordinary. Commuters hurry past, unaware that a young mother once carried her baby across those stones with India's most wanted man at her side. Bhagat Singh is remembered as a martyr who chose death to awaken a nation. Durga Devi Vohra should be remembered as the woman who chose to live, to fight, and to carry both revolution and motherhood in the same steady hands. That train journey from Lahore to Calcutta was not just an escape. It was proof that revolutions are built not only by those who die for them, but by those who survive long enough to keep them alive. If you've liked our video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. This will really motivate us to improve and create better videos.